Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here on a Wednesday. Super grateful to be spending this evening with you, wherever you're coming from, whatever state you're in. We'd love to know where you're tuning in from, so feel free to drop what state you're in the chat. That's going to matter later as we get into some state-specific dynamics and conversations. First and foremost, very brief, my name is Fernando Valencia. I'm here responsible for growth, partnership in Callagy Recovery. And just for those that are looking for a little certainty, maybe a little agenda, let me share with you what we could expect to happen here tonight. We're gonna have a 45 to 60-minute conversation about kittens, dogs, and rainbows. I'm just kidding. We're here to talk about the No Surprises Act, the Federal IDR system, and how we are committed to supporting the medical community and staying independent and recovering money from insurance companies. I hope you're in the right webinar. If not, I'm so sorry. You were tricked and bamboozled. But if you're here to figure out and learn about the No Surprises Act, the Federal Independent Dispute Resolution System, and how you could win the battle against the insurance companies, we're here to serve that outcome. So we're gonna be chatting for 45 to 60 minutes. Feel free to drop any questions you have throughout the chat. We had a couple teammates that are gonna be grabbing those, and then at the end, we're gonna have an open Q&A, or we're just gonna have our teammate Maura read the questions. So if something's confusing, please don't wait till the end. Feel free to drop it in there. And let me just get this out of the way. There's nothing for you to buy. We're not selling you a single thing. And the worst case scenario is that we waste 45 minutes of your life because we can't help you. And I'll make sure to disclaim who this is for and who this is not for very early into the conversation, so I don't waste any of your time. The only thing we may ask you for, if we earn your trust, is to allow us to have a complimentary underpayment analysis, to have a private, intimate conversation on how we could support you in winning the battle and getting paid from insurance companies. So nothing to worry. This is not network marketing. There's no sales pitch at the end. I'm not gonna have a value ladder with 5,200 things that's worth 10,000. And today only, you'll get it for $97. That is not the case. Nothing to worry. Keep your wallets in your pocket or totally away if you don't have any pants on. That's weird, but nonetheless, let's hop into the conversation. So let me give you an idea of what we're gonna talk about here tonight. What we're gonna talk about, number one, is what is the No Surprises Act, right? What is it? Number two is who the heck am I? Why should you care? What is Callagy Recovery and why should it matter to you? And number three is how does this whole system work? I think I've heard about it. Sounds a little complicated. How long does it take? How do I make money? Where does it come from? Number four is what's the economic impact? Are we talking about a bag of old donuts and some lint in your pocket? Are we talking about a couple shekels? Or are we talking about significant income that could support your dreams, your family, your time, your magic, your fulfillment? And then the last point is gonna be, where do we go from here? What do we do? What action do we take? And again, I ask of you to please not withhold your questions. Ask anything at any time. And team, and if something's interesting, feel free, we have a live studio audience here. Feel free to share it, right, live. I'd love to answer it because what you're thinking is infinitely more important than anything I have to share with you. And my goal is to educate you, hopefully slightly entertain you, but certainly not make this a waste of your energy and time. And again, thank you for being here. So what the heck is the No Surprises Act? The No Surprises Act, known as the NSA, is a federal law that was passed in 2020, enacted in 2022, and unfortunately got a pretty bad reputation of being unfriendly to the medical community, unfavorable, not economically feasible, and it got a bad rap, right? And the purpose of the No Surprises Act was never technically designed to really support, protect the medical community. It was designed for one reason, and it was to protect the American people from being balance billed, hence the No Surprises Act. And we have a big thank you to the Texas Medical Association because they were instrumental in suing CMS for the interpretation of the Federal IDR system and the NSA, known as the TMA decisions. I will not go deeply into that, but here's what you need to know is that they righted the ship. They did us, so thank you to the Texas Medical Association, as we would not be able to be supporting the medical community for not what they did, not for what Dr. Lee in New York and passing the first state surprise bill law and what he was able to do. And it's an honor and a privilege to be working as the arbitration partner for the Medical Society of New York. But we'll get to all those things in a moment. But that is what the No Surprises Act is, a law designed to protect the American people from being balance billed. And the byproduct of that is known as the Federal IDR, which is short for Federal Independent Dispute Resolution System, which is a system that is used for arbitration, not litigation, against the insurance companies. And this system does three really important things. One, it takes the patient out of the dispute. So this whole fear of, I don't want to hurt the patient, I'm a medical provider, I'm here to help the patient, I don't want them hurt, I don't want them speaking to lawyers, I don't want them to go into arbitration, I want them going home chilling with their families. Guess what? They get to have that life. They get to go through an emergency dynamic, they get to be supported and saved by you, and they're completely excluded from this conversation. They get to go home and chill. Number two is that there's a middle party between you and the insurance companies, which is a very positive thing, because it does a third thing, which is it takes the power away from the insurance companies. And I hope at minimum, we could all unite together. That might be a good thing. So that's part one of the conversation, just what is the No Surprises Act? And if there's any questions, thoughts, or comments, feel free to drop them in the chat. But I believe that's all you might need to know what the No Surprises Act is for now. There's a lot more to share, but we might do that in our private conversation. I think I'm going to leave it there for now. So let's go into number two, right? Who the heck is this young dude? Why should you listen? Who is Callagy Law? What's the difference between that and Callagy Recovery? Why should I care about you, and what can you do for me? Fair question. Let me answer that for you. So we started as a law firm. P.S. I am not an attorney. I also hear I play a terrible one on TV, right? But we started as Callagy Law 28 years ago in the great state of New Jersey, which is where our headquarters is in. And as a healthcare law firm, we have the honor and privilege of representing everyone in the medical community except the insurance companies. And we started in three divisions: workers' compensation, commercial insurance, and personal injury protection. Those were the three we worked on. And over the span of 27 years, we covered more than 51% of the market share in New Jersey. We started following all the state surprise bill laws from New York, Florida, Texas, Arizona, California, etc. And over the span of 27 years, we had the honor and privilege of recovering $1.17 billion for the medical community. And when the No Surprises Act happened, we were already a law firm with 120 employees. We carved out 80 of them. We created a sister company called Callagy Recovery, which is a non-law firm whose sole purpose is to be an arbitration firm supporting the medical community against the insurance companies through the Federal IDR system. Now, let me tell you what we've done since creating Callagy Recovery. When I had the honor and privilege of stepping into the space in December of 2024, we were already recovering $25 million per month for the medical community. From December of 2024 to December of 2025, we are now recovering $100 million per month for the medical community. So let me put that in perspective for you. It took us 27 years to recover $1.17 billion for the medical community. If we do nothing else as of this moment at $100 million a month, we will do $1.2 billion this year alone, just so that you could understand the magnitude of the opportunity for the medical community. Now, let me tell you why that's not interesting and why you should not be excited or care, but you should care about this. In May 2025, we were invited, Sean, Callagy, Tom LaGreca, Callagy Recovery, was invited to Washington, D.C. by Health and Human Services. And they've asked Sean Callagy to testify against the insurance companies for what's known as the Enforcement Act and many other things I'll get into on our advocacy piece in a moment. But here's something they said that was painful, infuriating, and staggering, is that as of May 2025, 90% of the eligible files, claims, surgeries, facility fees that were eligible for arbitration were not arbitrated. For two reasons. One, lack of education, which is why I'm working with medical associations, why we're doing this on a monthly basis to close the chasm of education. And number two was fear of insurance company retribution, which of course, deny, delay, hurt, sue. These are the tactics of the insurance companies to bully and cause fear in the medical community. And that 90% of eligible claims that were not arbitrated at the time equated to $500 billion a year that is being stolen from you, your colleagues, and the medical community. So as you can see, 1.2 billion sounds like something, except when you compare it to the mountain of the problem. And it's unfortunately an insignificant bubble in the space of what is possible. And we're on a mission to make sure we change that. As we've done this over the last 28 years and we continue to grow, we've realized the importance of advocating for the medical community, which is why I have the distinct honor of sharing that one of the things we're creating is known as Operation Medical Independence, which is a gathering, a movement, an ecosystem of creating a coalition of medical societies. We currently work with about a dozen or so medical associations, such as the Mississippi Medical Association, the Alabama Medical Association, the Louisiana Medical Association, the New Jersey Medical Association, the Medical Society of New York, the Alaska Medical Association, the Congress of Neurological Surgeons, the American Alliance of Orthopedic Executives, the Florida Medical Associations, and so many more. And we're actively in conversation with about 30 others. And the reason for that is we understand that associations have the ability to connect to you. And we can either try to meet you on webinars, we can stand in front of your local Starbucks, or we can partner with the bodies that are designed to share important information with the medical community. And I share that with you because, as you can imagine, and we're not sponsors, right? We're not paying to work with them. We've created partnerships around non-dues revenue. And in order for us to be in that position, we had to have gone through an extensive vetting process. So I simply share that all with you just to give you an idea of who we are, what we do, our scope in the marketplace. And as we sit today, we're already working in all 50 states, even though our headquarters is in the great state of New Jersey with Puerto Rico on the horizon. So that completes point number 2, right? What is the NSA and who are we? And now let's step into the meat and potatoes, right? Like the good stuff. The things I think you might want to hear is just, how does this all work? How do we make money? How do you make money? Where does the money come from? Does it grow on trees? Just how does this actually all work? What's your business model? Get to the chase. What's the catch? There's no catch. Our business model is as follows. We're a contingent-based company, means there's no upfront money to work with us. And I'll explain this in detail in a moment. I just want you to hear it for the first time. We're a contingent-based company. We front the cost of arbitration, which is roughly about $1,000 a case, a non-refundable fee of $115, and $600 to $900 for the arbitration party. So we front the filing cost. We have a 92% win rate in arbitration, which again, I'll explain in a moment. And the 92% win rate is in all 50 states with all specialties against all carriers. We recover 75 to 85% of billed charges. And the most important fact, which might not sound impressive until I explain it, is that 7 months into this process, 75% of our awards are paid. And 12 months into the process, 93% of our awards are paid. Now, the system was built to be 4 to 5 months, so 7 to 12 months could sound like holy moly cash flow. But I'll explain to you, as I explain the process, why that puts us so above industry standard. And we're the only company in the IDR arbitration space that actually started as a law firm. So we're built on morals, we're built on integrity, and we're built on a foundation of following the letter of the law. Because one of the things I'll share towards the end is some of the things you might have heard of others in the space that are, let's just go with, don't have as good of a reputation and have created fear in the marketplace for some of the, let's just go with, I'm being respectful, not naming names, some of the more nefarious, unethical tactics that are happening in the marketplace. But let me explain this whole process so you can see yourself in the picture. And I think the easiest way to do that is through a story, right? Because a lot of this can sound very technical. How does it apply to you and your life? And that's what I'm going to attempt to do in this moment. So let's pretend we have a friend, right? And our friend is named Tommy. And Tommy lives in your state. And for whatever reason, Tommy decided to be a hero. And he decided to be a hero by getting on a ladder on the second floor of his house and manually cleaning his gutters. I don't know why Tommy decided to do that and clean his gutters, but he did. and his wife's in the living room. His daughter is in her room reading a book, and his son's in the basement playing some video games. And out of nowhere, as Tommy's on the ladder cleaning his gutters, there's a gust of wind that just pushes him off the ladder. Whoop, falls into a bush. He cracks his skull, he breaks his elbow, and he gets a couple lacerations along the way, and he's completely unconscious. His wife, who's in the living room, heard the thump, looks outside the window, and is in instant fear and panic. She runs out and through pure adrenaline is able to pick him up, shove him in the car. And let me tell you what Tommy's wife is not thinking in that moment. What she's not thinking is, I wonder if the hospital I'm going to take my husband to accepts my insurance. What she is thinking about is, am I going to lose my husband? Are my kids going to have a father? So they go to insert hospital in your state here, and the journey begins. Now, quick commercial break. Who is this for? This business has two very clear black and white categories. Number one, it's for independent physicians that are working in the emergency room on call, and you're dealing with patients that have out-of-network commercial insurance. They're for independent physicians that are doing work in the ER on call, and you're dealing with patients that have out-of-network commercial insurance. That's bucket one. Bucket two is for the inadvertent community, right? And bucket one includes and is not limited to neuro, ortho, plastic, spine, OBGYN, maxillofacial, podiatry, anyone that is involved in the emergency room on call dealing with patients that have out-of-network commercial insurance. The second is the inadvertent community, such as radiology, physician assistants, anesthesia, IOM. It's not just for them. I'm just giving you a breadth of who it's for. And to put it in a couple categories, category one, a single physician or a group of physicians. Category two, a single hospital or a system of hospitals. Category three, a billing company or a revenue cycle management company. We love working with them. So those would be the three classes of potential clients we can work with and support through the Federal IDR system. Woo. Back to the story. So Tommy's in the emergency room. Tommy's wife admits him, and Tommy's met by a general surgeon, a nurse. He's zipped into surgery. There's a neurosurgeon that's called in, right? There's an ortho surgeon that's called in. There's a plastic surgeon that's called in. There's an anesthesiologist, maybe an IOM company. And all these different providers were in different places and times in their life. One of them was about to board a plane to go on vacation. The other is at their child's sporting event. The other is home having a day off with their significant other. And next thing, they're getting the call that Tommy fell off the ladder and they have to leave their life, their family, to go do what they gave an oath to do and save this man's life. So they go in and they all help Tommy, right? And everything happens, and unfortunately, in most cases, it doesn't work out this way. But just for the speed of the story, let's pretend everyone does their job, and the next day, Tommy's awake, he's alive, he's healed, he has his kids to his left, his wife to his right. They walk out of the hospital, and everyone cheers. Life is good for Tommy. Except when 6 months later, he gets hit with a $250,000 bill. Life is no longer good for Tommy. Except the No Surprises Act makes it so Tommy never gets that bill. Let's remove Tommy from the conversation. And now this is where you come in, the provider who helped Tommy, right? So for the sake of easy numbers, right, I understand it could be a $100,000 bill, $1 million bill, $500,000, $200,000. We're not here to discuss what CPT codes, right? We're not here to discuss if that's a high or low number. I'm simply using numbers for example, right? So now what's your role in all this? Let's say you're the ortho surgeon, right? Or insert your specialty here, who worked on Tommy's elbow, and your name is Michelle, right? So you're Michelle, the ortho surgeon. So the way it works for Michelle is Michelle must now bill Tommy's insurance as if he was in network. So Tommy was out of network commercial insurance. Michelle, for the sake of easy numbers, had a $10,000 bill. She bills Tommy's insurance. And the way it works, when you bill Tommy's insurance as if he's in network, the insurance companies use what's known as a QPA, an average in-network rate, which on average is about 5 to 10% of the bill, right? So Michelle, you bill $10,000. The insurance company goes, I got you. Here's $1,000 for your troubles. What do you do in that moment? The Michelles of the world, you have 4 options. Number 1 is you do nothing, which is exactly what the insurance companies want you to do, which is why 90% of claims in May that were eligible were unarbitrated. Because it's complicated, it's scary, there's all these acronyms, I don't know what to do, this is just another thing, this is a scam, I just don't want to deal with it. Whatever the excuse is, I'm just going to write off my losses. Please don't write off your losses and be an ostrich with their head in the sand. That's option 1. Option 2 is you can try to do this yourself. And listen, I'd love for you to try. It's a complicated process. There's timelines, which I'll explain in a moment. Not so fun fact, I heard from a sizable medical association that independent physicians or physician groups that try to do this themselves, on average, are not paid at all till after 12 months. And as you can remember, I said 93% of our awards were paid in 12, just to give you a perspective, and I'll explain why that is in a moment. But that's option 2. You can try to do it yourself. Option 3 is you can outsource this to your billing and revenue cycle management company, hoping and praying that they know what they're doing. And listen, I love them, respect them. A lot of them are our clients, but a lot of them also outsource that work back to us. And the way I explain it is billing companies do a lot, right? Think of it like they're Olive Garden. They have a lot on the menu. I'm not Olive Garden. We're a pizza joint and we sell pizza. We do one thing and we excel at it, and we're one of the best in the country at doing it. So for that reason, a lot of these billing and RCM companies work with us. Just it becomes a no-brainer profit center for them. It becomes a very easy process for us to work through them to the providers. So that's option 3. And option 4 is that you're on this webinar because somebody invited you. You listen to some random dude named Fernando, and you just work with us directly. There's no other options because there's nothing else that could be done for this scenario. This doesn't apply for denials. This doesn't apply for no pay. This is for underpayments. This is nothing to do with the ERISA process. If you're a provider doing work in the emergency room, dealing with patients that have commercial insurance, your only option for recourse is the Federal IDR system. And that's where we come in. Back to a little educational piece, is the way it works on the federal side is you only have 30 days from the moment you get underpaid to put in an offer to negotiate on the federal level. If you miss that window, you lose all recourse. Now, 22 states have state surprise bill laws. New York, you can go back 3 years. Florida, 90 days. Texas, between 45 and 60. But for the most part, just to keep it simple, think of it as a 30-day window. Why would you want to wait more time to get your money if you don't have to? But it's a positive to be able to go back. But this is not like existing AR that we can go back and recover all this money. If you're not on the field doing something, every day that passes, every day that 30-day window is missed, you are literally and metaphorically throwing money in the fire. So the way it would work for Michelle is, let's say Michelle knew us already. We had a private conversation. We signed a couple agreements, a BAA, we're HIPAA compliant. We talked about our contingency fee agreement. We have our money straight. And the way it would work for Michelle is Michelle would bill Tommy. Michelle would get an underpayment of $1,000. She would hand us over the EOB, the HICFA, the 835, the 837, and a few other documents, and we would become their initiating party, and we would represent Michelle by putting in an offer to negotiate within that 30-day window. Once we do, the journey begins. First window, 30 days. Once you put in the offer to negotiate, the insurance company has about 30 days to respond. When they respond, it opens up a 4-day window to go into what's known as baseball style arbitration. So what does that mean? And by the way, if any of those windows are missed, the first 30, the second 30, or the 4, you lose. Done. There's nothing else to do. You've missed the window. We don't miss the window because this is all we do. We're highly leveraged with AI. We have a conveyor belt. We have 80 employees full-time that do every section of the arbitration process. And when we go into baseball style arbitration, it looks like this. On the left is the insurance company, Aetna, Horizon, Blue Cross, Cigna, insert carrier here. In the middle is the arbitration body, and on the right is us representing you, Michelle. And the way it works is both parties need to submit what's known as a reasonable offer. The insurance company's reasonable offer is 5 to 10% of the bill. In this scenario, $1,000. On our side, we use usual and customary rates, similar and comparable CPT codes, and on average, we're able to recover between 75 and 85% of bill charges. So in this scenario, our reasonable offer is going to be $8,500. It's $1,000 versus $8,500. There's no negotiation. There's a winner, there's a loser. The arbitrating body is going to choose one. 92% of the time, that's the battle we win. Once we win, that becomes a legal federal binding award that the insurance company must pay Michelle directly. So Michelle has full control of the money. We then invoice Michelle, and we do it again every month like clockwork. Now, the way the law is written is 30 days, right? Offer to negotiate, 30 days, insurance company to respond, 4 days, that arbitration window, 30 days of arbitration, and then the insurance company is supposed to pay in 30 days, give or take about 4 to 5 months. The only party in this scenario that isn't held to the letter of the minute, the hour, or the day is the insurance company. And how are we able to have 73% of our awards paid in 7 months, 75% in 7 months, 93 in 12, is one, our background as a law firm. Two, the fact that we have agentic beings making phone calls to insurance companies to make sure we're getting paid. And since we've been doing this for 28 years, we have certain relationships with the general counsels. I wouldn't say we're friendly, but we have the ability to cause them to say yes to paying the award. So that's how the whole process works. More information than you need to know, because really, Michelle, from your perspective, and I'm pretending Michelle's actually in the chat, is all you need to do is be a surgeon, do the original bill, get underpaid, give it to us, and you keep living your life. Everything else we do for you, I just want you to be educated on what happens and the value of it. And if there's any questions you have on that piece, please feel free to drop it in the chat, as we're going to be opening it up for some questions and answers in just a few moments. So final couple pieces, right? That was part number 3. How does this all work? Where does money come from? What's your model, right? Part number 4 is, what exactly is the economic impact for you? So in 2024, we haven't gotten our 2025 numbers, but they're better, not worse. For the average surgeon, right? I'm not giving you the best case scenario. I'm not giving you the worst case scenario. I'm giving you the average, who is doing about 6 to 7 eligible surgeries per month. We were able to help them recover, give or take, $125,000 per month in additional revenue, which is right around $1.5 million a year that goes to you, your family, your retirement, your generations. It's your money, and it's money that you've earned, money that you deserve. And those were the averages in 2024, and the averages have only gotten better as of 2025. So as we come to a beautiful ending of this conversation, and we discuss what do we do and where do we go and what do we do from here, it's really simple. In a moment, not yet, we're going to flash a QR code that's going to give you the opportunity to submit your information, things we already have, right? You got here, so we're not asking you for anything more than you already gave us. And you'll have the opportunity right then and there to schedule your own meeting. If not, if you don't want to schedule your own meeting, you can submit the information, and someone on our team will call you in the next 24, 48 hours, and we'll get that meeting scheduled for you. What's going to happen on the meeting is a personalized version of this conversation, a more intimate understanding of your payer mix, what you're charging, what issues you're going through, and creating a custom plan of what we can do for you. And if you qualify, we'd also be open to doing a complimentary underpayment analysis, which means we'll look back over the past 3 months. We'll let you know what could have been by working together. And we'll give you an annualized snapshot by multiplying that times 4 on what the economic impact could be for you. Truth, it's just faster to skip the whole review, because if you have eligible files, it just makes sense for us to not just review them, but go file them so we don't miss any windows. So quick recap. What's the NSA? Protect the American people, created the Federal IDR system. Who are we? 28 years, 92% win rate, 93% of our awards paid in 12 months. How does this all work? Contingent based, no money up front. We only make money when you win first. It's an asymmetrical risk, And for the surgeon specifically, you don't even owe us the filing fees when we lose 8% of the time. What's the economic impact? $1.5 million per year. And where do we go from here? We'd love the opportunity to have a private conversation with you, analyze your underpayments, and see if we can work together. So team, I'm gonna ask you to just drop the link in the chat, flash the QR code. You could please take out your phones or you can click the link in the chat. It's gonna ask you a couple basic questions about Five and it'll prompt you to schedule a meeting if you want to. If not, we'll have someone on our team take care of that for you in the next 24 and 48 hours. And that's all I'm gonna ask you to do. As promised, there is nothing else. So now with that, I'd love to open it up for some Q&A. Maura, is there any questions in the chat? Would anyone like to unmute and have a live conversation? Happy to do that in the most respectful of ways. But let's give the microphone over to Maura. Any questions out there in the chat, Miss Maura?
Awesome information. I do see a first question from Brett. He's asking, how hard or difficult is it for my revenue cycle or my billing team to pull the files that qualify for this process?
Yeah, Brett, great question. Not difficult at all because your billing company or your RCM has to already be doing something with what's in network and what's out of network. They can't treat what's out of network as if it's in network. So somewhere in their workflow, they have to be separating in network and out of network. So this is not going to add anything to their workflow. It's going to take something out because once it's out of network, we're happy to do the analysis of what's commercial insurance, what's Medicaid, what's TRICARE, what's no pay, etc. We'd remove those out. They would give us those files. We can do it via a direct API. We have a custom SFTP secure client portal, which they can upload manually on a bi-weekly basis. The short answer is the most complicated part of our relationship will be the 48 hours that we have to sit together to figure this out, which is not painful at all. And once it's figured out and it's created, because remember, it already exists. They're doing something with your in-network claims. They have to be doing something else, which are out-of-network claims. They can upload all those files into our client portal and it'll automatically design what's eligible, what's not, and then we take it from there. Brett, I hope I answered your question. If not, please feel free to come up with a follow-up. Back to you, Maura. What else do we got out there?
Yes, another question. I would say this is more statement, but it is a good one. It's one of my favorites. It says, this sounds almost too good to be true. I want to hear your comments on that.
Yeah, and who shared that, Maura?
This is from Joe Morell.
Yeah, Joe Morell. I respect that. And believe it or not, that's one of my biggest challenges in the marketplace because it does sound too good to be true, but it's not. It's a federal law. This isn't a loophole. It's a federal law. It's the No Surprises Act. We have created a very irresistible offer, which is no upfront money to work with us. We front the cost of doing business with us. And why do we do that? Because we win 92% of the time. So instead of having you pay for that and having that create caution and concern, which it would, we remove that. And if you're a surgeon, your case value is so high that we're willing to eat the losses since we only lose 8% of the time. So we front the money, we front the energy, we front the time, and we only get paid on found money, right? So in the explanation, there was $1,000 for Michelle. We put in $8,500. We won. We only get paid on the difference, which is $7,500. So even if we lost, Michelle still keeps the $1,000, which is what she would have done if she didn't do any work with us anyway. But instead of the $1,000, we're going to make $8,500. We're going to keep 20% of that of found money, right? So we're going to keep, call it $1,500. So they're up $7,000. That is the truth of the math of the matter. And there is no catch. There is no loopholes. There is nothing else. And remember, if you're like, what if you make the money and you don't give it to me? Guess what? I don't control the money flow because the money never goes to me. The money, or us, the money goes from the insurance company to you, Joe. And then we invoice you and you pay us. So you're the one that has the power to not pay us, which we really hope you don't do because it's in no one interest because then we stop the arbitration process and it doesn't make sense because you're going to be happy because you ended up with $7,000 instead of $1,000 and we made $1,500, which isn't, we deserve that money because it came from money you would have lost anyway. So Joe, if there's more, if there's concern, I'm happy to go through this entire process in detail with you in private, but really you're just gonna hear the same thing. There's nothing else, there is no catch. That's the irresistible offer we've created. Because truth, Joe, we understand that in the medical community, there's a lot of skepticism. They've been sold a lot of dreams. And we wanted to make it so irresistible that the biggest threat, Joe, is not doing this with us, is doing nothing at all and losing the money and missing the window. That's the threat. And we wanted to make that more dangerous and scary than working with us. And worst case scenario is we lose and you get what you would have gotten anyway. Joe, I hope that answers your question. And if there's more we can answer, I'd love to. Please, Maura, back to you.
Awesome, Fernando. Thank you for that. Joe, thank you for that question as well. We have another question from Dr. Stan Kasani. She says, I am a hospital system employee cardiologist in South Florida who does see ER appointments on call. This doesn't seem to apply to me, but could be appealing to my hospital system. Who's the best contact with a large hospital system to bring this to?
That's a lovely question. And please, Maura, can you say her name one more time?
I hope this is the correct pronunciation, Dr. Stan Kasani.
Dr. Sankasani. You are correct, right? As an employed physician, we would not do the arbitration specifically for you. The facility would be eligible. So not only would the UB04, the facility fee, but your fee for your work as a cardiologist would also be eligible. To answer the question on who the best point of contact would be, the answer is whomever is responsible for getting paid from insurance companies. Every system is different. Sometimes it's every department, so the cardiology department does the billing. Sometimes it's not based on department, just all departments work up to a revenue cycle manager. They work up to a CFO. Maybe you don't do your own billing internally. Maybe you've outsourced that to an RCM. So it would be the head of billing at your department, the revenue cycle manager for the hospital, the chief financial officer, or the outsourced billing company or RCM that does the billing for the hospital. That's who we would want to work with. And doctor, what I want to share with you is that even though it isn't directly correlated to you, I'd like to make the argument that maybe it is, right? So I don't know your financial structure, nor am I asking, but I've heard and have relationships with some providers where sometimes based on the amount of money their department makes, they're paid, I forget the terminology, RVUs, or they're paid a percentage based on the gross volume of revenue their department creates. Now, again, I don't know what your structure is. I'm not asking here publicly. I'm happy to have that conversation privately, but that would be a way that it would directly impact you. If that's not the case, the second conversation is if the hospital makes more money, we would hope the hospital would pass that down to the department by creating more help, hiring more staff, updating technology, creating and buying more machines and equipment. So even though it may not directly impact you, it could directly impact your department and the hospital in a positive way. And there's also a conversation on what if you have certain colleagues that are independent and you make certain introductions. That's a whole other conversation that's not for tonight. But for all my medical providers that are like, if this works for me and I know others, is there a conversation to have? The conversation is yes, there is a conversation to have. I'm just not having that conversation tonight. That's a totally different movie. So thank you, doctor, for just having the foresight to know that even though it might not directly impact you, it could very positively impact the hospital, which is only better for the future patients, and I hope the staff of that hospital. So thank you for your question. Back to you, Maura.
Awesome. Katie says, I am a part of a DSO that owns several specialty practices, oral surgery, pediatric, dental, and orthodontics. Some oral surgeons take hospital calls and others do jaw surgeries at the hospital. How would this fit into the model?
Cool. So a DSO, is that like an MSO? A dental services organization? I'm presuming that's what it is. And who was this, Maura? What was the name?
This is from Katie.
Hey, Katie. So Katie, if what I'm hearing is correct, it's like an MSO, but for the maxillofacial world. The answer is exactly the same, and it has to be emergent work. So things like root canals or regular dentistry work, or even sometimes taking out wisdom teeth probably would not apply. But if you have a maxillofacial surgeon doing surgery on call in an emergency room, 100% eligible. Everything that we spoke about is exactly the same. It just wouldn't be for the primary general dentistry of things, But for the maxillofacial surgeon part, surgeries in the emergency room at a hospital, it'd be 100% eligible. We do a beautiful amount of work for the maxillofacial industry and world, and I'd love to continue to go down that conversation. It would ultimately depend on if the providers under your DSO are doing work at a hospital, on call, dealing with patients that have commercial insurance. It would be 100% eligible and apply. I hope that answers your question, Katie. What do we got next, Maura?
So we're going to go back to Joe here. Another awesome question. He's saying, all right, slightly different than the last one. I'm a solo spine surgeon and I have had bad communication problems with several billing companies in the past. Suppose I had several cases with payment occurring up to a year later. Do I have to wait to see where things are in the cycle, especially with all the deadlines to meet?
Yeah, great question, Joe. Quick fun fact, we do work with the Spine Health Foundation. We're in conversations with the North American Spine Society, so we understand the industry quite well. The answer to your question is it's 30 days from the date of underpayment, not from the date of service. It should not take a year, right, for your billing company to get you something, and that sounds incredibly painful. And we may have some recommendations for some billing companies. Again, that's not what we do, but it would not disturb the windows we discussed because it's not 30 days from the delivery of the service. It's 30 days from getting paid. So if you get paid in a year, which is painful in itself, it'd be 30 days from the underpayment. That's when the timer would begin. So I believe if I'm hearing your question correctly, first of all, deeply sorry that it's taking that long for you to get paid from your billing company, but we would not miss the timeline because the 30 days starts from the moment of underpayment, not the delivery of the service. Joe, keep asking great questions, and Maura, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe, for that. That is a great question. Let's go right to Brett. He says, what's the timeline trigger we need to watch most carefully in the MFA process? And what happens if we miss it? Is there any way to recover from there?
Yeah, great question. The answer is just the first 30 days, right? Everything else is my fault in Fun Energy. It's our fault, right? If we don't miss timelines, but the only thing that you're responsible for is making sure you get us the information we need within that 30-day window. Everything else I told you is literally noise. Just forget I even said it because you're not involved in any of it. You can be, but there's just nothing for you to particularly do. That's our job, right? That's why you're working with us. The only timeline you should realistically care about is that 30-day window from underpayment. Ideally, we like to get it within week 1. We try to have files delivered a minimum of every week, worst case scenario, every 2 weeks. And as long as we get into a cadence, we have a whole team on our process onboarding call. And Maria, who's actually here, their full-time job is just to help you deliver files on time. That's literally all they do. We have a team of people that help us meet you. We have a team of people that help us get you onboarded. We have a team of people that help educate you on how to give us files. And we have a team of people that go through the entire process of getting you paid, right? All of that happens internally. The only thing you need to worry about is the patient on your table and making sure that you're giving us the EOB, the HCFA, the 835, the billing information that we need within that 30-day window. Everything else is not of your concern. And if we miss the other deadlines, it's our fault, not yours. We're held liable and we don't miss. So that'd be my answer to that question.
Thank you, Fernando. Another question from AJ says, is Maura AI?
Yes. No, Maura is not AI, but she is an incredible teammate, one of my favorite humans to ever actualize. And truth, when I asked her to do the questions tonight, she said no. And I said yes. And she didn't want to do it. So clearly, AJ, she did a great job. Thank you for letting her know, because next month she's also going to be doing the intros. So shout out to you, Maura, as I publicly put you on the spot. So thank you for that question, AJ.
But back to a real question. Thank you, AJ. Ali is asking, how do you determine qualified IDR appeal claim or claims? This wouldn't be worth it if our claims don't qualify.
Yeah, great question. So yeah, definitely it's not worth it for both of us if the claims don't qualify. And the answer to that question is we have a 2-step process in going and receiving your files, right? We need billing information and we need medical information. So on the billing side, we just need the EOBs to start, right? You send us the EOBs, we're going to decide if it's eligible or not. If it's Medicaid, not eligible. If it's Medicare, not eligible. If it's a denial, not eligible. As long as it's commercial insurance, it's eligible. Now we do have a minimum threshold of $1,000 per case, because if we're investing $1,000 to get $800, that's just not, the math isn't mathing. So there's a financial component of your case size has to be of a certain amount. Now for my anesthesia friends, maybe my IOM friends, maybe my radiology friends, there's a capability of what we call batching. There's certain criteria, not going to go into detail now, where we can take a bunch of cases, batch them together to make them economically feasible to arbitrate. But the answer to that question would be, you send us the EOBs, right? We have technology that will decide if it's eligible or not. And over time, after we do this once, twice, 3 times, you're going to get the gist of what's eligible or not. But the truth is, anything out of network, just give it to us, let us sort it out, and we'll go do our job with what is eligible. And what is not eligible, we'll educate you on why it's not eligible, and you'll become more educated along the way. But my short answer is, give us everything that's out of network, let us decide if it's eligible. We'll decide whether it's state or federal. We do our job, and what's not eligible, we tell you and explain why it's not.
Awesome. Another follow-up from Allie as well. She's just wondering, is this only for emergency services then? We have oral surgeons who schedule ortho surgeries at the hospital, but this is planned and not always an emergency.
Yeah, great question, Allie. So what I would say, I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to open up a third box that's a little gray, takes a little nuance. So for the emergency providers, black and white. For the inadvertent community, black and white. For primary surgeons doing surgeries in an in-network facility, which is what you're doing, right? Out-of-network surgeons, maybe getting paid in cash, doing work in an in-network facility, there's a conversation to be had here, as long as you have enough volume to make this make sense. And we have to discuss some compliance dynamics that I'm not going to get into here just for the sake of the complexities. But it sounds like you fit into that third category. Emergent, everything I said. Inadvertent, exactly what we talked about. Primary elective surgeries in an in-network facility, totally different conversation. May be eligible, some nuance. Happy to have you talk with me or someone on my team, Allie, to really figure that out. All I would say is, if you think it might be eligible, it doesn't hurt to have a 30-minute conversation and really figure it out, especially if there's not a process in place to do something with that. That would be my answer for you in this moment, Allie.
Perfect. Thank you, Fernando. Dr. Michael asks, can you walk through what the onboarding process would be like, especially if my billers aren't really the most reliable communicators?
Yes, we know the feeling, Dr. Michael.
Course.
Yes, absolutely. We will never say you said that, Michael. Of course, your biller is incredible and stellar. So the way it works is, we have pretty much the conversation we just had. We could probably skip that unless you want to hear me talk for another 45 minutes. I wouldn't want that. But we'll send what's known as a BAA, a business associate agreement, so that we're HIPAA compliant. We sign a CFA, a contingency fee agreement, so everyone knows what's happening. We then set up a 30 to 60 minute onboarding session with Maria, Carolina, or Raji. They sit with you, your office manager, or your billing team, and we teach them how to give us files. We also have the ability to directly integrate via API if you qualify and have the certain number of files. Typically, to have any IT team create an API from your system to ours is about a $25,000 expense. If you qualify, we do it to you for free. So we'd be able to integrate with your billing company and grab the files directly from them. Or if you don't have a billing company, which is not you who's asking the question, we'd be able to integrate directly into your EMR and pull the data ourselves. Or we could teach someone on your team to manually upload it. That typically sounds so cumbersome and scary. I just promise you it's not. I promise you the amount of time that you're going to spend doing that is way less the amount of money you're losing for not doing it. And the truth is, we can do it completely ourselves. It's just a matter of having a trust conversation on how much you want to allow us to do. The short answer to your question is, we teach the biller, not you. We have a team whose job is to integrate with the billers. We have a team whose job is to create APIs from billers to us. Doctor, you have nothing to do with this process. You're more than welcome on every call, but I'm pretty sure you're not going to want to be there. So let us handle it on the background. And all you need to know is do the surgeries. We'll get the EOBs. We'll get the files. We'll do our job.
Perfect. Following up on that, the last questions we have here. How hard or difficult is it for my revenue cycle or billing team to pull those files that qualify for this process?
Not hard, not hard. As I said multiple times, your billing and RCM is already at minimum separating what's in network and what's out of network. So they already have a workflow for that. This is not new. This is not more work. Don't let them lie to you, because the truth is they're probably going to want to tell you it's so difficult, it's so hard, because they don't want you to find out that they've done a shitty job at getting you your money. That's the truth of the conversation, is they're going to make it sound difficult because they want to hide behind the fact that they've been screwing you for as long as they have. And I'm just being playful. So they're already doing something for your in-network claims. They have to be doing something for your out-of-network claims. So there's already an existing workflow. It's not new, it's existing. And all we're doing is taking a piece of that out of their workflow. So we're giving them less work to do, not more. So the short answer is incredibly simple. They'll make it seem more difficult because they don't want to get exposed for what they're not doing. But them making it difficult because they don't want to get exposed is not the same as it being difficult because it's not. That'd be my answer, Maura.
Thank you, Fernando. This is the last one.
That's it?
Comment from Michelle. So far, I would love if you guys had any more questions. Please drop them in the chat. Michelle has a great comment that I wanted to put up here. She says, this makes 100% sense to me. No risk, no loss past the 30-day window. As a healthcare provider for 43 years and owning a PT practice for 19 years, the complimentary audit makes complete sense.
Michelle, thank you. And we hope to get to know you. So team, just one more time, if you don't mind dropping the link in the chat a couple times, 2-3 times. If you don't mind flashing the QR code on the screen, everyone, I'm definitely not in a rush. Please don't be shy with your questions. This has been fun and interactive. Thank you for staying with us. We're right about that 54-minute mark. I wanted to honor these 60 minutes as I know we all have lives and things to do. But the next step from here is if you have any, just this might be interesting, let me hear them out. Just click the link. The questions that we're going to ask you is already what we captured in you being here. So it's not like you're giving us any more info. You're just telling us you want us to call you. And the truth is we're probably going to call you anywho. And if you want to just take the extra 30 seconds now, just schedule a meeting with our team. Put in the information, click submit. It'll take you to a calendar, choose the day, choose the time, hit submit. And next thing, you'll be meeting with our team. We don't need you to be any more prepared than you were coming into this webinar. And we'd love to speak to you. So just before I say arrivederci, just want to one more time, any questions, any finals, anything else that you're like, I really want to know this, just please ask it. Anything else in the chat, Miss Maura?
We do have a good one from Vesper. She said, what if I know doctors that I can bring over to you?
Yeah, the answer is we can absolutely have a conversation where first I'd want to earn your trust, right, in doing good work for you. And if you're part of an association or you have colleagues and you're able to introduce them to us, there's a way where we could financially incentivize you to do that. That's a whole other webinar and a totally different conversation. But what I would say is let us earn your trust first. Let us do a good job for you first. And then when we do, not if we do, we'd be very happy to meet your peers, your colleagues, and the rest of the medical community at large. That'd be my answer for you, Vesper.
Fernando, I do see another one from Jan. She said in the example of the DSO mentioned above in regard to maxillofacial surgeons, is there any benefit for the DSO if the practice is owned by them want to get involved?
I'm sorry, if it's owned by whom?
Yep, it says, is there any benefit for the DSO if the practice is owned by them want to get involved?
Yeah, because if the DSO owns them, they care very much about EBITDA, right? They care very much about profit. And this is all straight gross revenue, right? Straight profit. There's no cost involved in this. So the DSO that owns them, right, probably are going to be a lot more fixated on EBITDA and multiples and cash flow and net profits. So they're going to care, right, if that's increasing. And for the actual practices, they should, I don't want to say should, but why wouldn't they want to make a couple more shekels? That's only good for them. It's only good for their lives. It's only good for paying for their child's tuitions. It's only good for taking care of their significant other. The only loser in this equation is the insurance company. So unless the DSO is in a relationship with an insurance company, that would literally be the only reason why it would be weird. And that alone would be weird. So my answer to Jan would be it makes sense for the DSO and it makes sense for the practices owned by the DSO independently and collectively.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Fernando.
Cool. Everyone, thank you so much for being here on a Wednesday night. Again, my name's Fernando Valencia. We are Callagy Recovery. On behalf of Tom LaGreca, Mark Winter, Sean Callagy, and the rest of the crew, thank you so much for being here tonight. We hope to connect with you soon. I know the team will be sending out the replay very shortly in a day or so. But one more time, links in the chat, QR code is on the screen. We'd love to have a complimentary conversation with you. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you soon.